Yo, what is going on guys, it's Cryptic TMG back with a brand new video, and this time it's round 6 of the AOR GT3 Elite Championship, and this one's Long Beach, and one I was looking forward to. Managed to find some decent pace for this race. I was pretty much looking forward to it. Wasn't too sure if it'd be fast enough to completely challenge the Ferrari, but I thought that I could definitely you know, put myself about in qualifying. Unfortunately, the first half of this race, something actually happens where it just completely messes up my recording, so I've kind of edited it a little bit, and I've had to use the replay cameras instead of the actual live footage, and that was just through the first half of the race. Obviously, you can still see what position I'm in at the same time, but it was an actual problem with my wheel, which I'll come onto later, which kind of affected my race. Well, not kind of, did affect my race. So hopefully you guys like what I've done with the editing, and it's not too weird. But anyway, this is my best qualifying lap, and I'll see you guys after this. So we come across the line for a 17.1, which was a bit of a banker lap because our fastest in practice was a 16.6. And you can see here we're up again in that time, but I just hit the wall and just completely starts knocking my time away. And you can see we're still up at this point. We still are on provisional pole, and the session has ended. Coming into the last sector, I just the car just snaps on me a little bit. I tried to catch it, but it was too late. But still, we actually end up getting pole position, our first pole of the season. And yeah, I was well happy with that. CJ down in 4th position, who's our main championship rival, Ronaldo behind us, so we felt like we had quite a few cars in between us. So I was hoping for a good race, just try and keep it clean, try not make any mistakes, and hopefully I could maybe get my first win. But unfortunately, you can see there, that's the time I managed to do in practice. As I said, in practice I seem to be flying, but for the race it always feels a little bit different, and that's sort of what I'm talking about, where race conditions and conditions when you're practicing are just completely different for some reason. But anyway, for some reason there was a mass disconnect, and it disconnected Ronaldo in 2nd place, so I lost one of the people in between me and CJ, and there was a few other connections as well. So yeah, as always, this is our formation lap. Obviously I don't have all the onboard footage because of what happened, but you can see the 2 Ferraris behind me. I knew, especially at the start of the race, it's going to be really tricky to pull away from them guys, but going on towards the start of the race, you can see it's actually single file for this race, and because we were just too scared that it was going to be a mass crash into turn 1, so we decided for the formation lap to be single file. But I've gone, you can see Ronaldo's car stuck on the track there. That's just part of the disconnect problem. He wasn't actually there while we was racing, but in the replay camera his car was actually stuck on the track. But managed to get a decent start, trying to keep my nose clean, but going into the first corner, the car completely snaps on me. I managed to catch it, Carl just avoids me, and CJ and Carl end up going side by side through this corner. You can see CJ actually goes around the outside, a little bit of contact, knocks Carl wide, but CJ goes around the outside of the fountain, and now we've got CJ, a championship rival, right behind us. Probably a little bit fortunate with Ronaldo disconnecting, but yeah, up into second place. You can see how racing the Ferrari looks all over me at this stage, and for me the car felt a little bit slippery, so I was just trying to take care. On board with Carl now. Carl in third place, sitting back, not much practice but still able to qualify in the top 2 or top 3 should I say. So yeah, for me I was all about just, if I don't make a mistake, I know it's extremely hard to pass and it's gonna have to be a pretty big dive bomb. So I just sort of focused on all my exits, because at this point I knew the Ferraris were going to be quicker. They always warm up the tyres a lot faster, so I pretty much just knew all I needed to do is just keep making sure I get good exits. You can see CJ again chasing us down the straight, but we seem to have decent straight line speed. I never felt under threat going into turn 1 really, so I never felt like I had to defend. So yeah, it was pretty comfortable. The only problem was in turn 1 I just had zero grip, and that's why at this part of the section you'll see CJ is always right on our tail. Through this section of the track, the grip just wasn't there for me. But I managed to just keep the car pointing in the right direction. You can see, look how close he gets. But unfortunately for him, he gets close to me in corners where it's going to be difficult to overtake. So all I had to do really is just make sure that I just didn't give him any opportunities, make sure I kept getting good exits, and I should be okay. But still, the pressure from behind is a lot, especially on a street track where you can't make any mistakes. And at some points we do manage to actually string a few corners together, but all the corners where we had to brake heavily, the car just felt extremely sketchy. So it was hard at points. We could see CJ try to take different lines into the last corner to try and get a good run, but we just always had good traction. Even now you can see he's got a decent run, but the straight line speed seemed pretty decent, to be honest. You can see he gets a decent run out of the last corner, but by the end of the straight he's probably just not really in a position where he can dive up the inside. Carl manages to lose it and then gets absolutely ploughed into by everybody. And yeah, you see other guys coming around the corner now, crashing. I think that's Walter, I'm not too sure. And yeah, Carl's car absolutely destroyed. Then he smashes it into the wall, and then he reverses it back, and I think he hits the wall again. Oh mate, his car was absolutely totaled. That's crazy. But meanwhile, me and CJ still at the front. CJ still pushing us now, trying any way where he can get past. I know he was just waiting for that mistake to come. Obviously very risky to try and overtake around here. You got to really trust the person you're racing with, and at least have half your car alongside, otherwise it's probably not worth the risk. But CJ again trying to take that wide line in to the last corner, but I was taking more of a tight line, but I was getting on the power extremely early, so it was making it quite hard for CJ to sort of get the run on me all the time. But yeah, at this point you can see we're pulling quite a big gap now, and we weren't exactly driving as fast as we'd been driving in practice. In fact, nowhere near really, but we're still managing to pull a gap. And I just think it's just the difference in track conditions. I think it's the same for everybody. Everyone has less grip, so therefore everybody goes a little bit slower. So yeah, the car, it didn't feel bad around most of the lap. It was literally the second to last corner and the first corner, the car just felt awful. For some reason, the back end wanted to come round, and like turn 1 I was catching the car every single lap. Every single lap I had to catch the car, and I know CJ was right behind me, so I had to kind of brake a little bit early. And obviously in my head I'm thinking if he gets close enough, that's going to give him the opportunity. But that's the corner again, and you'll see CJ will always close up right at the end. His car just seemed to be a lot more stable through there. So even when I did manage to pull out a small margin, I'd always lose it at that corner because the back end would step out. So it was frustrating. It was definitely frustrating. I thought around the rest of the track the car was fine, but just that, and you see now the first corner coming up here, the car's just awful. I didn't know what it was. In practice it was fine, but you see here again, I'm having to not sort of push it through the corner as much. But not as much as I'd like to anyway. I really wanted to attack turn 1 because I felt like that's where I was gaining the time in quali, was by attacking turn 1. You see me scraping up against the wall there, all the sparks flying. But this lap hasn't been too bad. You can see there on acceleration, we look like we're actually pulling a little bit of CJ, who I think started to save fuel. I think he slightly underfueled the car. So I think he actually put it into normal, trying to save fuel at the same time. So you'll see certain sections on acceleration I was like pulling away. You can see we've got a decent gap on this lap, and I think again coming through this corner here, I think I'm just going to get a little bit sideways again. Not too sure. Oh no, it's not this lap. I know there's a lap where I started to pull a little bit of a gap, and then I just got sideways in the second to last corner, and it just pretty much put CJ right in the back of me again. And now you can see K-Slay, who I think's got damage, and the guy in the GTR, I can't say his name, I'm not even going to attempt to, but K-Slay obviously had damage when he hit Carl after Carl spun, and the front of his car is absolutely destroyed. And you can see now the straight line speed difference, the GTR, which is pretty fast in a straight line anyway, and then K-Slay with a damaged Porsche, and here comes the GTR in the slipstream. And I think obviously when you've got damage you just can't brake as late, and K-Slay leaves the door open and yeah, ends up getting past for third place. So GTR up into third place. I never thought I'd see a GTR in third at a track like Long Beach, but you never know. If you keep your nose clean, that's the kind of things that can happen. And for me, I was pretty happy with my race. I wasn't making any mistakes. I hadn't really smashed up against a wall or anything like that, and I felt like even though the rear of the car was a little bit dodgy, I felt like I could catch it every time. So as long as I can catch it, then I'm fine. But if I start feeling like it's just randomly hitting me at random places where I'm not expecting it, then that's when the mistakes start coming in. But again, CJ, literally, he's been right on our tail since the first lap, literally right on our tail. And it's hard trying to drive looking back and looking in your rear view mirror and trying to take the racing lines on a track like this is pretty difficult. But the fact that we're on a street track lets me know that it's a lot easier to defend. And you see there how much he catches me through turn 1, where he's got just a lot more confidence than I have, and the back of his car is just sticking. So it was really annoying. It was really annoying. I really wanted to push for that corner. I actually liked the corner quite a lot. So I was baffled to why the car was handling like that in the corner. I think I did try and change my brake balance, but it was actually making me lock up a little bit too much. So I pull it back, and I just thought I would just have to deal with it because it's making other corners on the circuit a lot harder than they need to be. But yeah, as CJ scrapes up against the wall, we've pulled quite a big gap now. So we weren't too bad when that's the corner where it happened, where I went to turn in and it snapped on me, and I was like, wow, I was so close to hitting the wall there. And luckily CJ had fallen like a little bit behind, so he couldn't take advantage of it. But pretty big gap going into this lap, and this is probably the biggest gap I've had since the race started. And yeah, it was it was a relief going into turn 1 knowing that CJ's not right up behind me. But I just see now, like, this is in my head. I was thinking, wow, this is my chance to try and break away a little bit. And I think CJ has said that he had to save fuel. He didn't know if he had enough fuel. So in my head, I knew that he couldn't push as hard as me. So I was just trying to break away and see if I get a gap, if I could just hold that, because obviously knowing he's gonna have to save fuel at some point, and he must have had his car on standard for this lap, because you can see we're actually starting to gap him just a little bit. And I think it is this lap where I pulled the gap, and then I just lost it in this next corner. I'm sure it's this lap. And in my head I was like, oh great, I did all that work and I just lost it in one corner. I'm pretty sure it's one. I have a little wiggle, there you see it, and he manages to start pulling us back in so quickly. It's crazy. Just lose everything in literally one section of the lap, and he's right on the back of us again. It didn't seem like a big wiggle, but at the time my wheel definitely snapped trying to hold on to it. We get a good run again. You can see there's no one even on the pit straight with us, so even if even if I was to make a mistake, I know at least I'd still have second. But you can see going to turn 1 the back end, snaps again. CJ tries to brake to avoid me, and he actually spins trying to avoid us. I think he actually tapped us, but at the time I didn't feel anything. Luckily for him, he didn't actually hit the wall, but he does lose a position. He loses third place. Sorry, he loses second place. He's down to third, and he can't hold it around the outside, and that's the GTR up into second. And I think I was about 9 seconds down the road. So for me, knowing that CJ still has to save fuel, plus he's got a car in between him and me, which was helping me out quite a lot, because we were pulling quite a big gap on these guys. So as long as that GTR could stay ahead, I knew I had a pretty big lead, and I knew it would be extremely hard for him to catch me and pass me, so I could sort of relax more. But that's what I was talking about in turn 1. The car, I would get through the corner, and then it was just, the rear end was crazy. Nothing like that in practice, but I don't know, sometimes this just happens with the track conditions. I just can't even attack corners that I used to be able to attack. CJ now, we've work to do to get back up into second position, and obviously with that GTR being so fast down the straight, you saw how he kind of struggled to keep on terms with us down the straight. He wasn't going to get anywhere near that GTR. Look at the gap the GTR pulls out so fast down the straight. But I can't remember the guy's name, but he decides to defend when he wasn't really in danger. He goes straight into the wall. CJ hits him and definitely picks up damage. And at the time I thought yes, but coming into this lap, you see my lights switch off, the car just smashed up against the wall, and my wheel actually went back to the home screen. And you can see, like, I was panicking. I kept my foot down and I started panicking. I managed to get get it back from the home screen, but I ended up losing about 5 seconds. Luckily I didn't actually get any damage whatsoever, but that was actually what messed up my recording. So when it went back to the home screen, obviously all the previous recording was cancelled, and I thought, wow, how lucky am I that happened on a part of the road where it's just straight and I haven't ploughed straight into a wall. Because this is a problem that it does happen with the T300. I'm not too sure why it happens, but I know it's definitely a problem that happens with the T300. And I had about a 9 second lead, and it went down to about 5. But even though I did hit the wall sideways on, I didn't get any damage whatsoever, so it was pretty decent. I still had the lead. CJ now obviously had damage, so he would struggle to catch us. And yeah, I felt pretty good. But again, coming into this corner, just watch my lights on my steering wheel. Lights go off, steering wheel goes dead, and it actually happens again, literally on the next lap. Goes straight back to the home menu, and you can see that's why it takes us so long to react to what's gone on. So we end up just driving around in circles, trying to get out of the way of the oncoming traffic so we could turn around. And yeah, at this point I was fuming. I was already ready to quit, to be honest, in my head. And this is where I managed to record the second half of the race. So now obviously you're actually getting the live footage, so you can see what position I'm in. I'm in 7th position, and I mean, I think I was like a lap down at this point. I was actually a lap down. You can see the red dot in front of us, which is the leader. So yeah, we're a lap down. We're behind Carl, who crashed earlier. And you saw how bad Carl's crash was, and he pitted and everything else. And
1 length behind.
Wow, we crashed. We had to pit. We was in the pits for so long that we ended up getting lapped, even though we had a lead at the time of the crash. It was absolutely crazy, and I was fuming because it just robbed me of a win, to be honest. It knocked my automatic clutch on. It knocked my traction to high. It messes with your brakes. I don't know, it's crazy. And yeah, after that the car just never felt the same. Never felt the same. And that's the thing, every time when you pit on this game, for some reason the car just doesn't feel the same afterwards. So yeah, I was driving pretty angry at this point,
2 lengths back.
and I knew I'd pretty much just thrown away a victory. But still in 7th place, we're catching up to Walgreen, I think it is. And I think Walgreen must have some sort of damage, because his car just... I caught him pretty quickly, and I can just tell how much he's going through the corner so slowly. He's got to have some sort of damage. So we tried to line him up for an overtake to try and get up into 6th position. and you can see just the closing speed. I think he even just moves to the side because he just knows that his car's just got too much damage. And for me, I was sort of proud of myself that I didn't bother quit, because it's so annoying when you put practice in for a race, especially when you're in a good position, and it just completely just goes wrong, and it's just no fault of your own. And still in season 9, I think I'm yet to spin or make a mistake, so yeah, I think I've been doing pretty well. But that's pretty much all that happened for the rest of the race. And crossing the line, finishing 6th position, almost a lap down, and CJ ends up winning the race despite the troubles that he had. So a chance where we could have actually closed the championship lead. We've actually lost even more ground in the championship, so it's pretty unfortunate, especially in the position that we was in, where we definitely had a chance to win. I felt like I did everything I needed to do, but sometimes things don't go your way, but that's just racing. But anyways, Cryptic TMG, make sure you like and subscribe, hit the notification bell to catch my videos first. And also I'm going to be doing some more videos because the patch 5 is just out, so I'll be doing some more videos and some BOP testing if you haven't already seen. And send your clips in to me to top 5 overtakes of the week so I can see if your clips make it. But anyway, peace. Yo, what is going on, guys? It's Cryptic TMG here. If you're already one of my subscribers but still want to show me more support, hit the PayPal donate button and donate however much you think my content is worth to you. Thanks for your support, thanks for watching my videos, and peace.